Hello, everyone. I'm Angeline, and she's Resa, and welcome to episode 112 of With the Quickness.
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, indeed. Today, we are going to be sharing our takeaways from the August 7th, 2022 sermon given at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, and a past sermon given at the Lighthouse Church and Ministries, Houston, which is located in Humble, Texas. Okay, Resa, what is your takeaway today from FBCLG?
That you need to be gracious and humble when your gifts are being recognized.
Okay. My big takeaway from this Sunday was focus on your strengths. You are divinely developed. Okay, and let's go on now to the Lighthouse Church and Ministries in Houston. What's your takeaway there, Resa?
Mine is to keep pressing forward because Satan will be trying to do things behind your back to distract you.
Okay. All right. My takeaways was when the pastor talked about how Satan has three moves that he likes to use on us. One is lust of the flesh, one is lust of the eyes, and the other one is boastful pride. We're going to get more into the sermons that were given. But right now, let's move on to Resa's playlist. Resa, what's the song of the week this week?
So the song of the week this week is by Jonathan McReynolds, I believe. Mm-hmm. He just put out a song recently called Your World, and it actually it features the African American spiritual. He's got the whole world in his hands, and that came out around like the 1920s. Mm-hmm. But it is like a inspirational, like feel good song.
His name sounds familiar. I think I saw him recently on Instagram. I think he was I know what it was. I saw a past interview he did with Kim Fields because he actually did a song for her song track that was nominated, I think, for an award this year.
Right. So he was on tour with Maverick City and Kirk Franklin. Mm-hmm. So he put out this song. It's not attached to any album. He is a Grammy award-winning artist. He has also won 8 Stellar Awards. He's also won 2 GMA Dove Awards. And just a reminder, because I found out yesterday that the Stellar Awards will be coming on tonight at 8 p.m. on BET. So of course, after this taping, I will be watching, and I will report back next week about what I saw.
I hope they have some great performances tonight it's August 7th, 2022, in case you're watching this on another date. Yeah, I hope they have some really great performances. If you don't catch them, you can always catch stuff on YouTube where they actually have some performances there. So is there anybody you're kind of rooting for tonight, or you're just going to be watching it and just taking it all in?
I know Kiera's going to be there because I follow her on Instagram, and she had on like this super dope like red suit. So I can't wait to see like what she's going to do. So I'm excited.
Is she performing or she's just presenting or something?
I think she is performing. I believe also Jacqueline Carr is performing. I can't remember.
I love her. She was on your playlist.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of people that are going to be performing tonight or presenting. So I can't wait to watch to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I hope from it you'll get like a new tip on what you want to do for our next song of the week from just watching tonight. But wow, you picked a really good song. Why did you exactly pick this one? And what's it called? What's it called again?
So the song is called Your World. Mm-hmm. I like the song because, again, it does use the African American spiritual because I caught the sample, but I liked how it was an upbeat, like inspirational song. So that's why I picked it.
I think we kind of need things that keep our spirits uplifted of everything going on in our society right now with, COVID, monkeypox, high prices and gas and food. Everybody's a little bit on edge and a lot of anxiety. So that's a great song that you picked, something that can lift us up. Thank you, Resa.
You're welcome.
Not a problem. Let's go on to the bulk of our show, which deals with the sermons that we're giving at our houses of worship that we chose to visit this Sunday. Well, this Sunday, we went back to my church, First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens. The praise and worship singers and musicians were on fire today in the sanctuary. Pastor Quick let the praise and worship musicians keep playing, and we had a great time, especially when Deacon Calvin and Dr. Williams got up to remind us of old Baptist worshiping and the goodness of God.
Yeah, I saw that, there was a joyful noise happening in the church today, and people were definitely catching the Holy Spirit.
I think it set a beautiful tone for the message. It absolutely did. But before we got to the sermon, Pastor Quick reminded us that August August has a theme. Remember, he has the I press theme all year. Well, this August is I press my gifts. Okay, we left stewardship alone, even though I was very convicted last Sunday with the stewardship. I gave my tithe, Resa. I gave my tithe. But I was very convicted by, Pastor Quick and Pastor Emeritus Stories to get myself in order for the Lord. So I'm trying my best. I think I told you, I said, yeah, I'm gonna test this tithing thing. And we're gonna see how, not so much test God, but more like test me. Because I realized after a lot of my study, it's not about giving God money to do things with, it's about showing your discipline. Mm-hmm. So it's more like a discipline thing with me. Like can he trust me to do what I'm supposed to do? So I'm gonna see how I do. All right. It's not quite like the Daniel's fast where my flesh is really, it's more like mentally, it's a mental press with this.
Right.
Yeah. Now I actually did not pay my tithing on Sunday. That would be too much of a temptation for me to put money elsewhere. I actually paid it on Friday, the same Friday I got paid, because it's easier for me to pay God first.
Right.
And then try to figure out the rest. And then to pay other things and then say, whatever's left over, God, you can have it. That's not a sacrifice. Ooh. If I get to the bottom of my spreadsheet and I say, oh yeah, got a little bit of money left, here you go. That's not sacrifice.
Well, I feel like that is a very responsible thing to do, because I know when I get paid, the first thing I do, the minute I get the notification that I was paid, I look at what bill needs to be paid and I pay that.
Yep. And that used to be my habit too. I mean, I always said to myself a long time ago, always pay yourself. So I've always paid myself first. Always put a little something in savings before you start paying your bills.
Right.
But then when you go to church, you think about, oh, it's offering, tithe and offerings time. Let me put something in the collection. Let me put something to the Lord. And it's never the same as when you first see your paycheck and the money's there.
It's never.
And you think of the Lord first.
Right.
When you think about the end, after you had your fun and your spending and did stuff for yourself, it's a different thing. So cool. I did a real sacrifice.
Yeah, because not too long ago, I actually looked at my pay stub, because let's be honest, a lot of people just look at their direct deposit. Yeah. When you look at your pay stub and you see how much, is taken out already before it gets to you, I get kind of sad. And I'm just like, oh.
I know.
But, it won't always be like this. Hopefully, one day things will get back to normal. But
hopefully God will bless us.
Yeah.
I hope he will bless us. I hope he will bless everyone that listens to our podcast and everyone that is trying their best to walk in his ways, because it's not easy, but the body of Christ is known to support each other. Right. If that's one thing, I mean, we're not putting anything out here that is detrimental to the body of Christ. I hope not anyway. I hope if anything, it's just lifting new and rededicated Christians, letting them know where there's good words that can pour into them. Let them know where there's good movies. Well, I'm trying with the good movies. I got to work harder on the good movies thing, because I was so busy this week. I went funny again when I should have picked something with that more heart to it. And you always pick great songs. I
try my best, even though sometimes I feel like, I could do a little bit better, but I do try my best.
Yeah, and we're new at this. So, right. I mean, even though the podcast is brand new, I think we're starting to find a rhythm. We're getting in there. So yeah, we're trying to use our gifts. Pastor Quick opened up the I Press My Gift segment featuring Brother Caleb Joseph Hibbert. He is actually a scholar athlete at our church, and he gave a wonderful testimony about how he's using his gifts. He's an athlete that plays baseball, but he also has a lot of artistic talents. And so he definitely talked about how he's working in his gifts, even to the point where he's an entrepreneur. So we were really happy on the online, giving him shout outs and claps after we watched his video moment. Pastor Quick also reminded the congregation that there's a gift assessment on the FBCSomerset.com website that can help everyone kind of figure out where their talents lie. And hopefully, once you get that assessment, you can see if you want to use it in places of ministry within the church. I think a lot of churches have something similar where you can either talk to someone and they can help you figure out where your talents are, or they have some kind of way you can actually do an assessment before you sign on to a ministry. Some people say that you can actually sit in on different ministries before you take part to see if you'll be comfortable there with what kind of work they're doing. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're like, I know how to sing, let me go audition for the choir. Sometimes it's like, I know how to sing, let me see if I can sit on a couple of choir rehearsals to see what they're doing and see if I'd be comfortable before you actually commit. So I think a lot of churches do that. Maybe not the ones that deal with security. Maybe there's a little more background check and stuff and what you can do, or maybe the ones that you have to do transportation and drive, the choir and stuff, they might have to make sure you have a CDL license and things of that sort. But I mean, in the medical ministry, you might have to be a doctor or a nurse. I'm not sure, but you might have to be an EMT or something to be in the medical ministry.
Yeah, there's certain like roles that you have to have certain criteria, expertise and criteria, like in certain degrees or licenses before you can go on to the second part of like, okay, let's have you sit in and see if you want to,
I'm not really sure the ins and outs because I'm not in the leadership of my church in any way, shape, or form. I'm just a parishioner like the rest of you guys. So if you are interested in something, please let the leadership know, or let a deacon or a reverend or associate reverend, or if the senior pastor might be hard because he's so busy, and he has a person he talks to, and she helps him keep everything organized. So he has people in place. If you're really interested in ministry, you don't have to go to your senior pastor. You can go to actually people that are in leadership that can help guide you in the right direction. And even your new member instructor of your course, they can help you get your footing in. That's how I first got into the ministry I was a part of, which I'm not a part of anymore, but I was once a part of the online ministry. We said, stop laughing. I was busy. They had no choice but take me out of it because I was teaching on Saturdays. I'm teaching at the college. So
it was just the way you said it. Like, I'm not a part of it anymore.
Yeah, they kicked me out. I'm going to tell the truth. It's like, Angeline's not coming to these anymore. She's not meeting. We're sending an email. She's not answering the emails because I was doing school stuff. So.
Do you want to go back, or like you just...
That's the thing. They were doing the whole I press my spirit, and I know he's taking an assessment.
Right.
Of where the congregation falls. And I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the ministry that deals with all the cameras and stuff, I'm doing all this editing and stuff of our videos. And I'm thinking the media ministry looks nice. I can learn more skill sets. This would be great. But at the same time, it's like, how much time do you really have, Angeline? How much time?
This is true.
You work for Rutgers. You work for Middlesex College. You're writing a memoir. And you're doing a podcast. How much time do you really have?
Yeah,
I still have a husband. I still have a dog, and those people need their person. My husband needs his person. I can't go upstairs, Resa, and say, "Oh, I signed up for the media ministry." He'll be like, "Why?" He's gonna be like, "Do I have to put ministry on my forehead for you to spend time with me?" So. I don't want to do it to my husband. My husband's already got blindsided with the podcast, He's like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And he was very supportive and everything. But at the same time, he's also thinking, that explains why she's always going down to her office on Sunday nights. Yeah. That explains why there's always a laptop on her lap on Mondays and Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
She's doing stuff for the Lord. Yep. Yes. And that's without me teaching. I didn't teach this summer. This summer I didn't teach. So I had the free, I had enough time to actually figure out what we're going to be doing. So Pastor Quick went on to say that the medical ministry is working on an educational monkeypox virus video because there's so much misinformation being circulated. And he wants to make sure that everyone at FBCLG knows exactly what they should be fearful of and what they should just be cautious about. Been there, done that is the sermon that's been given today by Reverend Dr. Danté Quick. Scripture is 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 31 through 37 of the New Revised Standard Version. This is part of the scripture where David is speaking to Saul. And David is talking about how he can fight lions and bears to rescue the lambs when he was a shepherd. And now he isn't scared to come up against mighty Goliath. In the intro, Pastor Crick reminded Christians that the key theological symbol of our faith is the cross, and that it will be made present in the sanctuary of First Baptist. We here at With the Quickness, our symbol is the cross and the dove. We use them because we're very proud of our Christianity, and we want to be very visual for anyone that's interested in listening and watching us, that's what we're going to be talking about. Right, Resa?
Absolutely. You definitely hit the nail on the head.
Thanks so much. Now, some of us are waiting to share our gifts, Pastor said, just holding them in reserve, but it's a refiner's fire to actually use them. Like when you use your gifts, you get better and better and better. I know that was how it was for me when I was writing, as I, learned more about writing and got my degree in writing and kept putting out work. I got better, a lot better at writing. Same thing goes with this video editing I'm doing now. Same thing goes with teaching, just being a supervisor, the different applications you use at work. When you first start something, it's kind of scary. You're not sure if you'll have a talent in the area, but if you stay at it and press your purpose in it, you actually get better, right, Resa?
Oh, I agree 1,000%. Like there's a lot of things that I was interested in that when I started, I wasn't like, I was decent, but I wasn't like that great at it. But then when I kept on with it and I actually put in the hours to get better at that craft, I became good.
Yeah. And the same thing goes with software. Like, and we're in the computer age. So everything that we're doing has some kind of software component, right? Mm-hmm. When you first started your job, you probably looked at a very complicated system, and now it doesn't seem so scary to you.
Right. Like I was always good with computers, but I will say my multitasking, even though again, I was always multitasking in middle school, high school, and college, but I'm way quicker with it now because I do it every single day. I have to multitask between multiple applications for like 8 hours. And
I think everybody can say that the computer age that we're in, it's scary to do anything new when it comes to computers. Even if our smartphones have an update and it changes things a little too drastically, it takes a minute to get used to it. But just like with our gifts, if we take the time and keep at it and keep using the new equipment or a new software or being in that ministry or using our talents, dance, singing, whatever, we'll get better at it. You might not be good at first, but it's the number of mastery hours you've put in. I think Jay-Z said something about how long it takes you to be really good at something. He didn't come out the gate being an excellent rapper. He went into the cypher and rapped with other people and could hold his own to the point where he's like, yeah, I'm really good at this. My flow is getting tighter. I'm getting quicker in my thoughts of things I can spit. I'm sorry, not spit, but spit is like talking. You know what I'm trying to say, Resa? I like Jay-Z, but I'm not... Yes. Going between his vernacular and this show is like, sorry about that, guys. Those that didn't understand, spit is like a way you say your words at a certain rhythm so fast that it actually has a great cadence to what you're trying to say.
Right. And then
the music and everything.
That even goes to show with Denzel Washington. He still takes acting classes because again, like he wants to keep his craft, like, not only up to date, but wants to make sure, that he like obviously has like the latest like tricks and tips in his toolbox. And even Lizzo with the flute, apparently she plays the flute like 8 hours a day. Wow. And I'm just like, so she's really good at playing the flute. So
yeah, I mean, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I know one thing about Denzel, he's going into directing now. So if he can get really proficient at acting and still taking courses, he can help all those actors on the other side of the camera that he's directing by the things he's picking up, just still taking classes. He can help them out right on site. Right. So that's a good thing. I mean, our society has been living in anxiety, Pastor Quick said. He said Christians need to lean on their faith and their trust of God to see them through this. I think that's so important. Then he went into a story back when he was in 5th grade, and he talked about memorizing information. Pastor Quick recalled that he still has a bit of a problem with his short-term memory due to his learning difference. So at the time in 5th grade, he had to memorize a poem, but you could pick any poem you wanted. I love this story because Resa, he named a poem that I always loved. Mother to Son, it's called, by Langston Hughes. And I've never had a chance to like read it out loud. And we have a podcast now. So I'm going to read it for those that don't know it, because my pastor actually quoted it and said it at the podium verbatim, and probably because he's known it since he was in the 5th grade. But I'm going to read it to you. He read it a different way than I'm going to read it. So please make sure you watch his sermon so you can see the difference. I'm going to read it more like a mother would say to her son, a mother that I'm familiar with. He read it like how a mother would say it to him or something like that. But I'm going to read the way the Southern mothers that I grew up with down South, my grandmother, my aunts, my mom, how they would say this to their son. Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up. and places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, eyes have been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the stairs because you find it kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I's still going, honey. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't no crystal stair. Love that poem, Resa. I'm glad beautiful. I'm so glad he said it. And I hope you guys liked it. If not, it's okay. I liked it enough for both of us. After that poem, he went on to refer to a January 2005 Harvard Business Review article called How to Play to Your Strengths. He mentioned that people remember 4 negative memories for every 1 single positive memory. And so that kind of can make you think about how you do your employee evaluations, but as a parent, it also makes you think about how you raise your kids. Because I never knew that. It made me think, oh my gosh, if my kids or my people that report to me can remember negative things I've done more than the positive, 4 to every 1. Ooh.
But then can't that also be like, there's just certain people that are just like, they only see like the worst of you, period. So regardless if they're like, you know, especially if they work for you, if they don't really care for you, they're always going to be looking at, or they're always going to be remembering like the negative things. But if you have a employee that likes working for you, like they'll bring up the positive things first before they might say 1 or 2, like not so great, you know, things. They're not automatically starting off the bat with a negative.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it might have to do with the disposition of the person a little bit. If a person's mostly a positive person, and I've met many people that are really negative or really positive, and you can't make the positive ones think negatively. Like every time you try to turn them toward thinking about it, the bad side of something, they'll just turn it around with a little smile and sprinkle some fairy dust. And it's like, really?
Right. Because this just reminds me of when I was in college and we had that wonderful Rate My Professor website. And, you know, you have some people that actually, you know, liked going to class because, again, they knew why they were there. And you have other people that were like, you know, I'm here. I don't want to be here. And they don't really care for the college experience. They just want to get their degree so they can go about their business. Yeah. So it's like you have to take those types of
reviews on that site. Like,
right.
Because I know I'm on that site. I'm on that site.
Have you
when I first started teaching, I used to look. I don't look anymore.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Because I decided, you know, the best indicator is actually the student evaluations anyway. Right. The student evaluations, I can see the whole totality of that class right there. Mm-hmm. And then I can, you know, adjust as accordingly as I go for each semester. So, and the same thing happens with restaurants. They get reviewed, and you know how many people that like the ones that don't get the best service, they have the reviews up there, and the people that enjoyed the service, they tip well, but they don't go on the sites and put up, I had a great dinner at Sheiji.
Right, but see, I know for myself because I recently, this is like maybe a year or so ago, I like to look at reviews, right? But again, I don't think people realize, right? When you are the cause for the horrible service, people could see that. So I'm not gonna say their name, but I was going to get a certain like medical service done, and I needed like a new doctor for a certain medical procedure. And I read her review, and the person tried to blame them. Come to find out, when you actually read what happened, the person was at fault. So I actually went to go see this person to get the service, and she was super nice, like I thought she would be. And I said to her, like, I read the review that was like on the website about what happened, and you were in the right. And she was like, you're the first person that read the actual review and still wanted to come in and told me that. And I was like, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that like you weren't in the wrong. The person that like conjured up all this stuff, they were in the wrong, unfortunately.
Well, I'm glad you told her that. It's too bad they can't actually, I know they can go on and speak back to the different reviews.
Oh, she did.
Like I know on Rate My Professor, I can go on to my former students and set the record straight if I choose to.
Right.
My thing is, you know, God sees everything. He'll take care of it, whatever it is, you know. Hopefully I'll still be able to keep teaching, and hopefully that student will graduate. I just look at it that way. you know?
Right.
After Pastor Quick talked about the article, he made it very clear that in the article, there is a reflected best self, or RBS exercise, which has 4 main components. One is to identify the respondents and ask for feedback. So that's where you find like 11 people or so to tell you what your strengths are. Then secondly, you can identify the patterns in what the people have told you in their feedback. There should be some common themes you might see there. Thirdly, you should compose a self-portrait. So when you know your strengths, you need to go ahead and use that to help you figure out the real version of yourself that's real, not what's in your head, not what you hope to have existed. I think the pastor talked about having a certain golden voice. That's how he sees himself. But then you get enough feedback, you realize, my voice is okay. It's not, Grammy award winning, but my voice is okay. And then fourthly and lastly, redesign your job. Pinpoint your strengths and redesign your life or your job to assist you. And that's where the gifts come in. If you did the assessment, you know what your strengths are, and then your gifts go in a certain manner, then you should follow suit. And then I said, one thing I loved about this sermon was focus on your strengths. You are divinely developed. You need to be pressed by God to get better at your talents. Your gifts need to be cared for in the same way that a homeowner cares for their land. You need to be gracious when your gifts are recognized, and life will try you. I mean, don't get me wrong. You might have a great gift of dancing, singing, whatever. Life will throw you curveballs, but your gift will make room for you if you start using it. So Resa, any last feedback on the sermon given by Pastor Quick today?
No, I feel like you pretty much hit the nail on the head, and it's more so about staying humble when your gifts are when your gifts are appreciated, because he did say that some people like to be very prideful and they don't want to give props to God for their gift, which is not a good thing. Like, you should be like recognized.
Did anybody come to mind when he said that? Anybody in the singing and music world that come to mind? Do you think like rappers are more prideful than R&B singers, or pop singers are more prideful than country? Or you think that anyone can be susceptible to being just prideful and boastful on awards day? Because you're about to go watch awards pretty soon.
I feel like, honestly, it used to be that, it was this type of facade that, the rappers were the ones that were like, oh, I'm the best. Mm-hmm. But now it just appears,
East Coast, West Coast. That's right.
So now it just appears that everyone is saying they're the best, and people like to crown themselves the kings and queens and princes and princesses of whatever. And I'm just like, okay. I just, listen, I'm not that old. Okay, I'm only 30, but I at least know from following different artists that, the ones that were the GOATs and the greatest, they didn't label themselves that. Their peers labeled them that.
Yeah, so like Aretha Franklin never said, I'm the queen of soul, did she? And when you watched the movie and read the books, like she didn't come out and say, I am the queen of soul. I think it was somebody deemed her that.
Yeah, somebody deemed her that. She didn't come out the gate saying that. Like, she knew she was good at with her musical talents, with playing the piano and singing, but she was never really trying to say that, oh, I'm the best. Like, people around her that saw her musical, because she was a child prodigy, so everyone knew that she was extremely gifted. And when she because she had a hard period too, where she she wasn't really as close to God as she once was growing up. So when she did circle back around and she did make her gospel album in the 1970s, that was like, it's critically acclaimed. Like, a lot of people know about that album. And she tapped in even further into her gifts. Like, people were saying, this is the queen of soul, Aretha Franklin.
That's like with Michael Jackson. He wasn't calling himself the king of pop. Elizabeth Taylor called him the king of pop first. I believe. I was living at the time. I think I do remember it was Elizabeth Taylor that said it first, and it caught on. But if I'm wrong, let us know in the comments below, because that is how I remembered it.
Right. Even Whitney Houston. I love her.
Jersey, what was her title? What did they call her?
The Voice. She was the Voice. But Whitney,
she was the Voice.
But see, this is the thing about Whitney, right? Because we all know, like, her mother, trained her, like, she helped her with her gift that she had. We know. But Whitney wasn't sitting here saying, oh, I'm the best. She always gave the people that were good, she always paid them homage and gave them the respect. Her peers are the ones that said her voice is the standard. The way that she is able to, what is the phrase I'm trying to say? The way that she is able to take words off of paper and emote in a way.
She can sing the, I'm sorry, she can sing the yellow pages. Back in the day, we had the yellow pages, everybody's phone numbers in it. She could just read regular text and her voice alone will make you go. I've seen little babies respond to Whitney's voice that are not even, they're like under the age of 3 months that will stop and look at the TV when she was singing.
Right. Like, wow. There's certain gifts that she has. Everyone doesn't have that. For example, Michael Jackson was singing about a rat named Ben, and I cry every time that I hear that song. Everybody can't sing about a song named, everyone cannot sing a song about a rat.
Look at you getting all hyped up. I'm just saying, you didn't even know it was about a rat. The rest of us knew.
I didn't know until I watched the movie, the Jackson American Dream. But like, a lot of people don't know how to do that. So to dub yourself a certain like title is kind of weird.
Yep.
To me, like, you can be good, but you don't have to do that.
Don't be boastful and prideful. That's true.
Yeah,
that's
be humble.
If you want to actually listen to or watch Pastor Sermon's sermon, Been There, Done That, it was live streamed on August 7th, 2022, and it's on the FBC Somerset YouTube channel. So please, when you get a moment, check it out. Now let's go on to the next house of worship. We decided to visit the Lighthouse Church and Ministries, Houston. They posted a sermon from May 15th, 2022. And we knew you were going to enjoy it. So we wanted to bring it to your attention so you can give it a look as part of our minister series. The speaker was Pastor Keion Henderson. The sermon itself was called Dances with the Scars. You know, that's a play on the name Dances with the Stars from the ABC dancing competition show. Scriptures are Isaiah chapter 53, verses 4-5 of the New King James Version. This is where the Lord says he carries our grief and our sorrows, and by his stripes we are healed. As an intro, Pastor Henderson asked us if any of us had ever been wounded. You know, rhetorical question. We all can say, yes, we've all been wounded. He said we need to learn to dance through the pain, getting dances with the scars. And he spoke of Cody Burns, who, when he was a teenager, had survived a vehicle fire in Indianapolis, Minnesota. He explained the scar relief surgery to the Christians that were gathered today. And you can learn more about that scar surgery and what it all entails if you go to codyburns.com. His last name is spelled Byrs. It'll give you more details about Cody, his life, and his foundation for burn survivors. But it was a good basis. His life was a good basis for this sermon because scar relief is how he first went into his talking points. He said, some people see empathy when they are wounded. They seek empathy when they are wounded. And when you're scarred, some of us have to remember, you have to rest that area where you might have been wounded or have a scar in. He said, makeups can cover it up, a scar. Nice clothes. Sometimes we can put on clothes and cover up our scars. But we have to understand scars aren't something that need to be hidden, especially if they're spiritual scars. Those are actually miracles written on the skin when we have damage in some way. It actually shows you're a survivor. What did you think about that, Resa, when he was saying our scars actually show we've been through something that actually means you're a survivor and we shouldn't be trying to hide them?
Yeah, I felt like what he was saying was true. I don't think you should hide your scars. I do also believe, too, when he also said that everyone doesn't deserve to know your scars. Some people just are not. Some people are just not worthy of knowing your story for whatever that reason is. But for those of us, you know, that do want to share our scars with certain people, I don't think you should hide it.
Well, I know it's easier for us as adults to say not to hide it, but I worry about kids. Like if you're a kid that was scarred by fire or you had a bad accident, you have stitches and things you're worried about. I can understand wanting to cover it for a little while just because, peers can be cruel sometimes, Ooh. And if you're trying to heal, I think it's easier to put your scars out and not be okay with what anyone has to say if you're a grown adult and you're fully formed in your mental capacities. But if you're a child, I think it depends on where you are in your personality. If you're okay with people knowing and judging and looking at those things.
Right. And I just think from a human standpoint, we all just want to be like normal, considered normal.
Yeah.
So most of the time, and I can even speak from my own personal experience, you may not want to like talk about your spiritual scars or physical scars, however you want to, identify. But I do feel like when you understand what your scars are and you feel comfortable enough, I definitely feel like you shouldn't hide them. And right. And the people that you like trust, you should be able to explain to them like what your scars are.
Yeah. I think all of us need to get to a point where we're comfortable, but only you as a person can decide who you're comfortable sharing that stuff with. I think that's why the marital relationship is so important. When you pick a person to be your person and to share your life with, they get to see all the scars and all the history and all the past stuff that you've kind of kept to yourself. And they're agreeing when they join their life with yours to become one, that they'll be a safe place to talk to about that stuff with, and you'll be their safe place in return.
Right.
I guess that's why divorces are so hard, because this person knows everything about you and they can just throw it in, they can weaponize it. That's why divorces are so hard.
And see, that's basically what I have heard a lot amongst like my peers. It's like, it's like they want to open up, but they're like, I don't want what I'm about to say to be used against me in an argument or if we break up or whatever. And that's the part that's kind of sad, because I feel like, there was a time where people were able to, be married to someone or have a long-term relationship where you did feel comfortable enough to say what you needed to say, and it stayed behind closed doors between you and that person. Now it's just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. People just feel like they can just use it because you said it to them. Well, I'm going to use it, to my benefit. And I'm like, that's not cool.
And it's so sad our society's that way, not only in the marital relationship, but in our friendships and our families and you can't even have a confidant. Back in the day, the word confidant was used a lot. Nobody uses the word confidant anymore. They use it in passing and saying, oh, they're like a friend, a confidant, but no one says, that's my friend. That's my friend. Oh, that person there, that's my confidant. I mean, they know everything about me. Our relationship is just that close. That word went away. People replaced it with best friend. You have friends, and a best friend,
Right. But see, I know for me and my friends, like there's only, because again, I don't trust everybody. My level of discernment, I just don't play. Yeah. So with the people that I do trust and the people that I do consider my friends and we do confide in each other, there is no, if we get into an argument, I'm going to use this against you. It's like what was said, but it doesn't go any further. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's like, it's pretty much like an unspoken, but also too, it goes back to your level of maturity. Why would you want to go out there and purposely hurt someone by using sensitive information that they gave to you at a time that they were vulnerable? That's not cool.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why I think it was so important for him to talk about scars and wounds. When Pastor Henderson went there, I said, I know this is going to be a good conversation for us to look at. But he actually did it under the lens of what the devil used to scar Jesus. The things he did to scar Jesus are the same things he'll do to scar us. And he said the devil only has like a couple moves he can use. He said, he goes, learn how to play chess, not checkers. Because if you actually study chess, it's about learning your opponent and the moves they're making. If you can think about their first 15 moves and what they're doing, you can actually beat them at their own game. That's why chess is such a thought-provoking game. I mean, something you can actually study it and get really good at it, because it makes you think, not in the moment. Checkers is in the moment, but chess is more strategic. It's more like planning, like what is the defense? What are they trying to do? How are they going about doing it? Satan only has 3 moves. He's not a chess master. He's a brilliant checker person. He's not a chess master. And his moves are lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and boastful pride. That's how he tries to get us off our game. And so once he did that setup telling us about Satan's only having a couple moves, he went right into how he uses those moves into scarring Jesus and into eventually scarring us in the same way. So he told us there's 7 things to watch out for. One is watch your head. That's one place where Jesus was wounded, right? And has a scar. The crown of thorns were placed on Christ's head. In Matthew 27:29, you can read that there. Satan wants to disturb your thoughts is what Pastor Henderson wants us to remember. So your purpose won't be birthed. That's why he wants us to take us off our game, not thinking about where we're going and what we need to do. Because if he can get us to think differently, it could take us off of thinking about how to achieve our purpose and how to find out our purpose and how to birth our purpose. Second thing he said is watch your back. It's another place Jesus was wounded. If you remember, there was a cat of nine tails that Jesus was whipped with. Well, Satan will also try his best to influence and wound you. And he'll do things behind your back to make you look backwards at the past or what is happening instead of going forward in your purpose. He said, wash your hands. This is actually 3 and 4 because Jesus was wounded in both hands. So those are the two wounds there. So a wound for each hand. He said, wash your hands. Thomas touched Jesus' scar in his side as proof of his doubt. He would not believe that person they were seeing was Christ until he actually could see or touch the wound, right? So he said, you're about to get credit for what you've been through. Touch what you put your hands on, what you touch, God's going to make it very apparent what you've been through was worth it and guide you forward. So don't let Satan take away your purpose of trying to grasp what God has for you. He said 5 and 6 are the feet. Jesus' feet were actually crossed and a nail went through them in order to nail him to the cross. And he gave a very vivid picture of that when you're extended on the cross, in order to breathe with your lungs, even after going through all the beating you went through, you'd have to stand a little bit in order for your shoulders to go back and to stand in order to take the gasp of breath. And then once you didn't stand on your feet anymore or stand on that nail that's going through your feet, it'll be harder to breathe because, your lungs are kind of collapsed more that way. And when he did it, it was kind of like a visual representation of what he kind of showed what it would be like. And it kind of made me feel a certain kind of way, like, wow, my Christ went through that. It made me feel very vulnerable to think about he was standing on broken, hurt feet to expand his lungs for me, gasping for air for me. He said, Satan doesn't want you to walk and go further and expand your territory. So guard your feet. He said, be careful where you walk and who you walk with and things of that sort. How did it make you feel, Resa, when he was talking about watch where you're going and what you're doing and people talking behind your back and all these so far? What were you thinking when he's going through this list?
My first thought was when he was going through the list, I was like, it actually reminded me of a conversation that I had not too recently. About like when you're on like your journey to healing, like you do have to be mindful of of Diablo, as I call him, and what he's capable of. You also have to be mindful of what information that you are taking in audibly, what you're watching visually, because nothing good can come out if you're listening to things that are like negative and you're watching things that are negative. Because he made a joke and he said, well, people that like to watch Law and Order, they walk around all spooky because they think something about to happen.
It's true. That is so true. There's some of them ID shows and stuff. I couldn't watch them. Started watching when they first came on that channel. And I said, I can't watch anymore. It's going to make me scared to go out my house.
Right. Like I know for myself, right? I am a Disney, like what is it? Comedy type of like romantic
rom-com.
Rom-com type of girl. I don't do horror films. You wanna know why? Because when I was in college and I thought I was trying to be cool and grown, I went to like a movie theater to watch a scary movie. And guess who was up like 4 hours after the fact watching cartoons because I was shook. Couldn't sleep. I was spooky. Every sound, I thought somebody was trying to kill me. So it's just no.
Oh, I remember when the X-Files came out when I was younger, and they had this little dude that could climb through your air vents. And I was like, no. After watching that one episode, I was up for like 4 hours like you. I could not sleep the whole night. Your father thought he's like, why can't you go to sleep? I was like, I can't. I watched that show. I couldn't go to sleep. So I knew from that point on, I'm a Disney girl. I'm a Disney girl. That's what we do. Disney princesses,
right?
Rom-coms and movies that make you laugh and comedies and singing, musicals. I love musicals.
Exactly, musicals. Now, the first I'll go is Marvel. Like I could do action. Marvel.
Love
Tomb Raider. Yeah,
and I love drama.
Exactly.
I just can't do horror.
I love drama. I can't do horror films. I can't do the goriness. So yes. Am I that friend that all my friends are like, oh my gosh? Yeah, but you know what? I take that title with pride that I am a Disney rom-com, like musical kind of girl, and that's okay.
But what do you have a favorite movie yet of all time, or a couple movies of all time?
I have a couple.
What are they?
I like The Wedding Planner. That's my all-time favorite. I love that. Musicals. It's a tie between Dreamgirls and Rent. Because and Rent's a funny story because
we saw Rent together, yeah.
Right. But the fact that my sister and I, obviously, we had never seen the Broadway play, but we saw the commercials for it. And at the time, the way that they were promoting it, it was like, yeah, come and see Rent. These people on the street, you know, that don't have a place to live, but they make it fun, right? And then when you watch the movie, I'm not going to give it away if you've never seen it. But then, like, when you watch the movie and you see, like, the seriousness of what they're dealing with while living on the street, you go into it. Of course, there are moments of like happiness and you laugh and stuff, but then there are moments where you cry. And I was crying heavy. Give me a Kleenex. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is not.
They were living like worried about rent, and some of them were trying to live in places. Some of them were getting kicked out of places. Yeah,
right. But they were also dealing with like heavy
issues
stuff too. Right. Yeah. So if you've never seen Rent, please by all means go and watch Rent. Now, as far as like actions, listen, my all-time favorite action movie is Tomb Raider 1 and 2. Yeah. I'm all about that girl power.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm still mad to this day that we did not get a third installment, even though I understand the reasons as to why she stepped away, Angelina Jolie. But like, if we could have got a third one, I would have been happy. But I love,
and I don't want anybody else to play her.
I really don't.
Angelina. That's the only person I want to play, because she played the heck out of Laura Croft. Lady Laura Croft, she embodied her totally.
Right. And like, no shade to the woman that they tried to like get to play the next Tomb Raider. No shade to her. She's talented. I don't know your name, but you're talented. However, the stamp that Angelina Jolie put on Tomb Raider, I don't want to see nobody else but her playing Tomb Raider. True. I don't care.
True.
That's how I feel.
Now I'm going to name my two films, and we got to get back to Pastor Henderson. But one film you and Nicole used to make fun of all the time when you were kids.
I already noted it.
What am I about to say, Resa? What am I about to say?
An Affair to Remember.
An Affair to Remember. Cary Grant. Yeah, and Dora, it's Cary Grant and Deborah Carr. Yeah, I love that film, An Affair to Remember. The rom-coms wouldn't exist without that film. It all started there. Even Sleepless in Seattle even bit off of Affair to Remember. That was the movie. Oh my gosh.
It was just like the way that you had told the story. And I was just like, wait, this is what even though I will
Don't give it away.
No, I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to say what happens. Will I watch it at some point? Of course. Because again, it was like a lot of rom-coms like to use that as a reference. But it was just like when you told me.
Classic. It's classic old Hollywood. Story, and I can't wait for some Black actors to actually redo that movie for me.
Do we have to keep redoing movies that were?
But for me, I just would love to see the Black version of that. I really would. I just really would, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
We got to stop doing that. Like
you say that as a young person. I'm an older person, and I get it. You're tired of remakes. Got it. But this is one movie I would love a remake.
But wait, can I just explain why though?
Because no, I don't want to hear why. No, I'm entitled to say that my childhood dream was to see that movie reenacted one more time, not just by Cary Grant and Deborah Carr. Okay. It's a dream. It's a dream.
I hear you. I just want to just give a shout out to the people that also are making original content. We also want to give you like, a spotlight. So that's why
I get it. Original content. Yeah. Got that. But just like you guys like to always do sequel after an episode after episode after episode of Sex and the City and all these other things that are out there, there's nothing wrong with wanting to revisit something that gave you joy as a child and as a young woman. I remember when my mother was watching Affair to Remember, and she said, "Oh, I don't watch this garbage." And she left the room, and I said, "Well, what is the garbage?" And I went to look. I said, "Oh, this is Cary Grant and Deborah Carr." It wasn't garbage for me. I like rom-coms. My mom didn't like rom-coms, but I like the rom-coms.
Well, if they want to listen, if Hollywood wants to redo that film, that's fine.
But they probably won't. They haven't yet. They won't.
Again, as someone who is a writer who writes original content, I'm just saying, like, we can't just keep.
There's room for both.
But I'm just saying,
for both, Resa.
But as of lately, there has been an ongoing theme of, oh, let's redo this film that came out 10 years ago. And I'm just like, really? Do we need a redo? Just give me original stuff. Like, if we just have a couple seasons of original content, then I'm fine with at some point doing a remake. But we haven't even gotten to the original content yet.
I get what you're saying.
I'm trying to promote.
I think there's room for both. I really do. There are some people of all, we have more than one generation in this society that is existing on this planet. And so the millennials want things new. Give them what they want. Give them new content. And then there's people that are older like me that doesn't mind people revisiting some older things. And as long as the new spin is a good spin, or the new remake is a great remake, that's all I'm asking. Now, I'm going to my next film so we can get back to Pastor Henderson. My next all-time favorite film. Do you know what it is? Since you knew what my first one was.
No. What's the second one?
You don't know my other favorite movie of all time? I only have two. That one and one other.
The Fair to Remember and I don't know the other one. I can't remember the title.
Gladiator. I love Gladiator.
You love Gladiator?
The Gladiator. Russell Crowe, Gladiator. I love the theme of it. I love everything. The Man in the Arena. That's also a great poem, The Man in the Arena. I mean, it just is my movie. Believe it or not, it is.
I had no idea that was your favorite movie.
The way he defended his wife's honor, the way he kept her alive in his heart and his spirit all the way till his death, the way he freed Rome, from tyranny. That's my dude. I love the Gladiator. I love the symbolism of it and everything. So, but yeah, those are my two films. So, okay, let's get back to our sermons. Because he had one more point he made after he did those 6 wounds. There was still a 7th wound that Christ experienced. Do you remember what it was? His final wound.
His rib. He's talking about the
side.
Yeah, his side.
And Pastor Henderson said we need to watch our side. He said one of the guards stabbed Jesus in the side after he was dead. It was so disrespectful and evil to brutalize a corpse, to actually stab a corpse.
Right.
And he says, be careful, because you don't want to stay around anyone that will, do evil to you after you pass, or, when you're most vulnerable and things of that sort. He said the enemy will always attack you in the 3 ways he mentioned before: lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride. But he's aiming for those areas that we just went over: your head, your back, your hands, your feet, your side.
And this is exactly why, for that last for the rib, this is why I keep my circle of friends very small, because you can't, not saying, listen, I'm cool with everybody, but the people that I consider my friends, it's a very small few for a reason, because you never know, unfortunately.
I can understand that. Before he ended his actual sermon, he did give us one last story. He talked about Horatio Spafford, who was a prominent American lawyer and a Presbyterian church elder. He spoke how he had buried his son had died, his business had caught fire, and that his 4 daughters tragically died in a transatlantic voyage. And after all that misery and pain, all those scars, he still wrote the Christian hymn, "It is well with my soul." And he actually ended the service singing with his praise and worship singers and musicians that hymn. You can view Pastor Keion Henderson's May 15th sermon, Dances with the Scars, on the Lighthouse Church of Houston's YouTube channel. Now let's go on to the screening room. This is a part in the podcast where we feature a movie from the PureFlix catalog. They're not a sponsor of the show, but I have a subscription, and that's where I like to get my, family-based and faith-based movies. This week, we're going to feature Brother White, written by Tommy Blaze, Sean Paul Murphy, and Matt Richards, and it's directed by Brian Herzinger. It stars David A.R. White, Jack A., and you know Jack A. from 227 and Sister. Okay. Yes. It also stars Bruce Davidson. He's starred in everything from Shakespeare to Steinfeld. Ray Wise, who was in Twin Peaks. Reginald Vell Johnson, who was in Die Hard and Family Members. You remember him? He played Carl in Family Member. Okay. Andrea Logan White, who is in Mom's Night Out and Do You Believe? Anna Margaret, who you can see in When the Game Stands Tall and Scream Queens, and many others are in this film. Here's a brief synopsis of the film. Now, I must say that this movie has been recommended for family viewing because it's a comedy, and some of the humor is geared more on the side of the kids in the family than the adults. So you might find some of the jokes might land kind of flat with you as an adult, but the kids love it, okay? James White is just one of many associate pastors at a California megachurch under the tutelage of evangelist Johnny Kingman, until the day the opportunity comes open for him to head up a church in Atlanta, Georgia. He jumps at the chance, and at first his family and the congregation has their reservations, but when they're faced with the threat of a very corrupt banker threatening to close down the church, everybody gives, I guess I'll say Pastor White, a chance. It says Brother White, but he's the associate pastor, so he'd be the pastor, the senior pastor of the church. The themes of this movie is power of prayer, family struggle, community, honesty, hope, and a demonstration of faith. You can see the trailer for this movie on the With the Quickness website just by going to www.withquickness.com. Just take out the and it'll take you right there. And you can learn more about the film there, and hopefully you'll give it a watch. And if not, if you don't have any small ones in your family, I promise next week I'll have something that's a little, more adult friendly and something that has a couple more themes of our faith in there for you. Now, the last segment of our podcast is usually before the Bema seat. We don't have an interview this week, but if you are interested in being interviewed and sharing a story that can inspire new and rededicated Christians, please visit www.withquickness.com and select the Bema seat tab. There you can fill out our interview form so we can schedule your virtual interview. This virtual interview will not be done on Sunday. It'll be done sometime that's convenient for you and for me, the host that will be interviewing you. You can also email us at bemaseat@withquickness.com to begin the guest process. So Resa, another show's down. I think I need to call that ram in the bush and tell them we need to do their Bema seat interview, because our season's gonna be coming to the end pretty soon. So
yes,
I have a feeling after this pastor series is over and we're already on the fourth, are we already on the fourth house of worship now? We went to Oakland, we went to Baltimore, we went to New Orleans, and now we're in Humble, Texas. Yeah, I think we're getting close to numbers. We're going to be a number 5 next week. So we're about to finish this up. So I need to call that ram in the bush and see if, they'll still want to do the Bema seat interviews.
Of course.
Yeah. Unless, you want to do it next week. And you're like, she's still waiting. I know you're still waiting. I'm just kidding.
I need some time.
I know. Okay. Well, I hope you have a great rest of the week. And I hope you have a great time at the Stellar Awards that are about to start.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I hope they have some great music that you might want to use in the next week. So you can just, maybe somebody will release some new music tonight. Wouldn't that be great?
You never know. You just have to stay tuned to next week's podcast to find out.
All right. So I'm looking forward to and tell us who was the best dressed in your opinion. We'll actually put their picture up in something and show everybody who you think was the best dressed of the night on that red carpet.
Okay, I will.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking about you. I just can't stop thinking